of them all, and of course from some of the biggest dailies in our nation, Nigeria. We extract the top stories for you, and of course we lay them flat on the table while analysts dissect them one after another to help you make sense of them. We believe that when you properly and thoroughly understand issues in our nation, perspectives to them, it will further help you, make a better decision as a Nigerian. And while the analysts share, his own perspective and interpretation of some of the stories, the phone lines will also be thrown open for you, Nigerians, good one at that, to lend your voice and then join the conversation for nation building. Today is Monday, and of course in Nigeria, maybe I say, your state, as I am not sure if resumption is across board in the nation. But in your state today, schools resume. Children will be back to the classroom today. And of course, we pray for all children that as you resume, that God will go with you. And this is another reminder for, trans and so on and so forth to please, take it, be careful. If you drink, don't drive. And if you drive, please do not drink. Remember that you're not the only one using the road. There are other road users. Pedestrians are right there. Those riding the bicycle, they're there. If you're driving, Okada riders are on the road. Tricycle riders are there, and so on and so forth. We need to put everyone into consideration. Once again, welcome to Perspectives Unlimited for today. This morning, we have The Punch right in the studio, the Nigerian Tribune, and the Guardian newspaper. We'll go through their front page in a moment. Stay with us. All right, you're welcome back to the program. Let's start from the Punch newspaper on page 37 of the Punch. U.S. and Nigerians trade barriers, port corruption. U.S. report calls out Nigeria's trade barriers, port corruption on page 37. On page 2 of the Punch, deflections, PDP calls emergency meeting to halt Hurricane Tinubu. That story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and it is the major story on the Punch. Nigeria not drifting to one-party state, says presidency. APC welcomes Obervere, others today. Moving on to page 4 and 5 of the Punch, NDLEA seizes 1 billion naira drugs in 80-room hotel raid on page 4 and 5. Moving on to page 37, Heritage Bank, ND 46.6 billion payout on page 37. On page 42, Finch upgrades Lagos Kaduna to others state investment rating. And on page 5, Ondo doctor others face charge over abortion for 10-year-old victim. All right, moving on to page 14, federal government targets 70% local pharmaceutical production. On page 14, you find it on the Punch. Let's move on to the Nigerian Tribune. On page 19, Nigeria targets single-digit inflation, job creation amid global uncertainty, says Edo. It's on page 19. And on page 7, NACCIMA, OPS, worry over World Bank's for 2027. The writer says offers short-term measures to reverse trade. Moving on to page 4, Ayo Emmanuel-Ojo, a courageous leader, advocate of United Nigeria. Roads Vival, APF, orders Abure. The writer says, as Labour Party holds night of tribute for late elder statesman, on page 4. Now we move on to the major story on the Nigerian Tribune. On page 23, Tinubu's government making effort to dismantle Democratic Foundation. Odinkalu, Ojudu, Jinodu, 15 others won. Won against country's march towards one-party state. We didn't fight to end military dictatorship, only to enthrone civilian. Authoritarian, they say, Tinubu not building one-party state, says presidency. Billion naira and allowance, we didn't rely on money released on paper, says ASU. And on page 6, IMF 37.0% inflation projection, LCCI expresses concern, says nation's economy vulnerable to external shocks. Now we move on to The Guardian today. On page 5, don't don military attire. Army, page 5. And on page 7, Nigeria won't be great without a Greek, says Afeba Balola on page 7. NLC cancels May Day celebration in Rivers, Edo on page 8. Moving on to page 6, solar panel import ban percent price surge worsening energy cost crisis in the nation on page 6. And on page 9, no cash above $10,000 must leave Nigeria without declaration. And on page 3, Tompolo endorses Tinubu for second term, says Fubara will return on page 3. Presidency, civil society clash over Tinubu's alleged one-party state agenda. And on page 5, over 80 Northern community under ISWAP control, says group on page 5. And finally, Fulani headers get 48th Benue community. You find that on page 9. And that's all we can take on the front page. We read from The Punch, The Nigerian Tribune, and The Guardian newspaper. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning, Perspectives Unlimited, coming straight to you from Wells Radio 89.3 FM, broadcasting live from Wells Broadcasting House along Alafin Avenue, Oluyole Estate, Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State.
Very sad and unfortunate, because to me, if there's any state that should think that way, not Delta, because the party is very magnanimous. I thank God that in their message they didn't say that the party did anything other than good. It's a decision taken by them, but the pains will be in us.
I think the general perception is that the defections are instigated by personal political interests and pressures connected with it. So it's not about ideas. Those who are defecting or those who have defected, you must also ask yourself, what's the ideology they had before from another party? They say, I'm just defecting to this party. So bandwagon effect, personal interest, lack of conviction, a poor political culture. So all of that is on the table. But the other thing to note is that there's nothing criminal in political defection. You can defect to another political party out of conviction. That, look, I believe this is where the welfare of the people will be better served, so I'm joining them. But that's not what we're hearing. There's a lot of undercurrent. 2027 is a strong, probably, the ruling party is probably so strong and growing, much stronger, that by the time we get to 2027, your chances will be diminished if you're not in that party. That could make you defect. It's quite possible there's inducement, among so many other things.
We're running a system here that is very despicable, very disheartening. A platform that gave you all the necessary tools, the opportunity to represent your constituency. Now, it's about time we revisit this type of system we are running in Nigeria. There was a time when we had President Yaradua They had some crisis in South Africa. He appointed me and some other. I led the team to wade into the crisis. It was when we got there that I realized that the system by which they handle their elections is very different from here. For every election, no individual names gets the ticket of the party. It is the party that contests for election. At the end of the election, that is when they will now decide, Party A, you had so much, present your presidential man. Present the vice president, present this, present that, present the House of Reps and all that, which is the reverse of what we do here. That is why there, when you say the party is supreme, the party is supreme. I am shocked that a party that gave you the tools, a party that gave you the platform, a party that recognized you, go on their platform, you campaigned on that, halfway to the house, you started looking around and flip-flopping and rolling around like a rudderless ship. This is 2025. We still got 2 years to go. You are decamping. You are jumping deep. Who knows what will happen? 24 hours in politics is a long time. I'm very disappointed with these governors. Very disappointed. Because they got the platform of the party, the backing of the party, and the electorate in their states supported them because of the programs of the party.
All right, you're welcome back. Let's dive straight into the conversation this morning. This is Perspectives Unlimited once again on Wells Radio 89.3 FM. Stories, Chukwemeka Munachi. So good morning to you, Chukwemeka.
Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very fine, by the grace of God.
And how was your weekend?
It was fine.
All right, we thank God. Yes, that excerpt we listened to a while ago was from last week, by the way. The last one we listened to, the voice of Chief Bode George, and the first one, the voice of the acting national chairman of the PDP, Omar Damagum. He spoke first, followed by a public affairs analyst speaking next about the ideologies of politicians and reason why they might be deflecting at the moment. Probably inducement